let's continue with a big focus on the Prime Minister Modi's announcement. Here are the 5 big takeaways in case you missed the speech. This is what Prime Minister Modi essentially said. The details of Lockdown 4.0 will be announced before May 18th, but that lockdown version will be very different from what we are seeing right now. Lockdown 4 will be different from the previous 3 sets of restrictions and lockdown phases that we have seen. The thrust will be on self-reliance and building a self-reliant India, building a self-reliant economy. The thrust will be on local products, Swadeshi goods and products being manufactured here, being marketed as well. And so the emphasis becomes about local consumption and demand. This is primarily what the Prime Minister said, as he also made the announcement of a 20 lakh crore stimulus package. Now the details will be announced by the Finance Minister tomorrow. Suffice to say, all eyes will be on what the Finance Minister has to say about which segment gets what allocation from this 20 lakh crore package. We will also see clarity, but it seems, and our own internal sources suggest that this includes the steps that have been taken already by the Reserve Bank of India and one package that was already announced by the government in the month of May. So roughly a quarter of the stimulus relief package has already been put out there. We are seeking details for the rest of it. Joining me right now in this round of special broadcast, Mr. Naveen Raheja, Chairman and Managing Director of Raheja Developers, and also Shailesh Pathak, Director and Chief Executive Officer of L&T Infrastructure Development Projects. Mr. Pathak, let's begin with you. Obviously everybody was keenly watching out for what the Prime Minister has say. We'll get more details tomorrow. But what's the larger expectation? This 10% of the GDP relief package that has been announced, how do you wish to see it being allocated?
Thank you. For me, the key takeaway was the 5 pillars that the Prime Minister mentioned. And I was happy to note that the second pillar was infrastructure. Now, if I can just take you to the National Infrastructure Pipeline, which is for the the final report was released on the 1st of May. And 21 lakh crore is the outlay for infrastructure in the NIP in the pipeline for the whole year of 2020 to 2021. So we from the infrastructure sector are very optimistic that all the nation building that our Prime Minister did talk about, infrastructure will play a large role both in creating and leading to economic growth.
Okay, and correct, you rightly said that, he's mentioned infrastructure specifically, even as we see restrictions. Some amount of activity has begun. But the big challenge for infrastructure projects, construction projects, manufacturing will be your workers. And Mr. Pathak, there we see quite a bit of chaos right now, a large amount of reverse migration taking place. How do you see this challenge and how will the industry handle that?
So that's actually one of the key points. The Larsen & Toubro Group is a very large group, and we are a small company as part of the group. We have restarted construction work in 4 states. And I do know that many of L&T's projects across India have restarted because we took care of our labor during this time. And they were in well-appointed camps. And those who now want to go back home will go back home, not because they're lacking in food or shelter or money, but it's a psychological urge to be with families. And we must respect that they are our brothers and sisters. So that empathy we have to show. Wherever we do have labor available, for instance, in Rajasthan, in Gujarat, in Tamil Nadu, in Telangana, we have restarted our works. And the only thing that we would request government to do is to facilitate movement of such willing labor that is coming to our sites. In general, those companies that have taken care of their laborers during this lockdown will benefit. The unscrupulous people will lose out. But in another sense, it's also a blessing in disguise for the East Indian states from where most of this labor came. These laborers can be productively deployed in those states to deliver something like the Jal Jeevan Mission, piped water supply to every household. So in the next 6 to 12 months, this labor can just be used for the Jal Jeevan Mission in East Indian states like Bihar and UP.
Okay, I take what you're saying. In fact, I want to take this question across to Mr. Raheja as well. Mr. Raheja, what's your own sense about the labor challenge that we have right now? With so many of them on their way home, they want to be home in times of a pandemic, and of course you can't stop that. But this will this lead to a large problem when we restart economic activity? Will it lead to increase in labor costs and shortage of labor in some cities?
I don't think so. If you have been giving very good facility to the workers, even during lockdown, you take care of them, you have been paying wages to them, and you continue to give the facilities which are much better than even if they go back. Give them more safety, more security, and take care of their welfare as well as the welfare of the families also back home is much challenged. We have been rather appealing to government that we need more workers which can due to the pollution like the
Mr. Raheja, we seem to have a bit of an audio problem with you. Yes, continue, please.
Problem.
Okay, I'm just going to try and fix that network issue with you and just come back to you, Mr. Raheja, so that we can hear you better. Let me also see if we've got, Mr. Pathak with us. Before I let you go, Mr. Pathak, just one last question. In terms of specific measures that the infrastructure industry and companies need to tide through this entire crisis, the fact that we've not done any work in almost 6 weeks now, what is it that you will watch out for from the finance minister's briefing tomorrow?
So let me give you a micro number and a macro number. The micro number is that we are also in the business of running operational roads and transmission lines. And the toll collections on our highways have gone up 22% this Monday from last Monday. So that's a very clear indication that economic activity and supply chains are picking up. So instead of really saying lockdown 4.0, you can also say opening up 2.0. The first opening up was after 4th of May. So the more the opening up, given reasonable precautions and restrictions, the better it is for all companies, not just the infrastructure. And this is a very clear leading indicator. From the finance minister tomorrow, we would look for both fiscal transfers and non-fiscal transfers. So government also is running short of money because direct and indirect taxes are going down. Like our companies are getting hit, government is also getting hit. So can government keep absolutely an open mind on doing anything that does not involve transfer of money to the private sector, such as a lot of permissions, such as a lot of arbitrations, such as a lot of conciliations that are happening and payments are going to go to the private sector. Similarly, how can government facilitate our working in the infrastructure sector? Typically, as you mentioned, labor is a key component, materials and plants, and the ability to operate this at peak capacity. So in our project, as I mentioned, in Rajasthan, we have achieved around 70% of peak capacity. Can the finance minister's package, apart from making cash transfers, enable easy ramping up to full capacity? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pathak, for joining us. Let me just quickly see if Mr. Raheja is back with us. Sorry, we couldn't hear you earlier. If you want to finish that point, Naveen Raheja.
Yes. See, workers, as far as everybody needs job. If agriculture sector could actually feed the families and could actually give them growth perspectives for all the workers, urbanization and migration of workers from villages to cities would not have taken place. Now, this has been a temporary, whatever people are going back, it is temporary as I look at it, because ultimately it is about their sustenance and sustenance of the families. So what we should do, what what we had been doing in the past, I can say that this has been a privilege with us, that we had created in all our projects. We have very good facilities for the workers, air-cooled rooms, mess which serves, morning bed tea to breakfast to lunch to evening refreshment to dinner to entertainment by facilities, in the evening. So we have self-contained campuses in our projects. So as such, we don't find any problem. With our workers, we have not seen a single worker even requesting to go back. Rather, we have requested governments that in NCR, that if the people are not able to, you're not able to keep them in the labor camps which are being run by the government, we can take these skilled workers into our sites. So all depends whether you create good facilities and give them good, timely payout, take care of them. I don't think there will be much problem. If you really mean to do business, you can do business. And secondly, coming time, as we see, our Honorable Prime Minister has mentioned about technology, about skill, about systems. So all these things we have to carry along in the new India. We have to align with the requirement of the world, and we have to align with the technology as well. And we have to be self-reliant. We have to ensure that
Okay, I take your point. Yes.
That you have to do all in-house production.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Raheja. I take. Well, we've had some rounds of in phases of Make in India, but hopefully this time around with a renewed push, we can make it larger and more successful than what we've seen so far. Thank you, Mr. Raheja and Mr. Pathak, for joining us. Let's also say good evening to Hari Menon, co-founder and CEO of Big Basket, and Lalit Agarwal, CMD of V-Mart and Chairman for the Northern Council of Retailers Association. So from infrastructure and construction, now quick response coming in from the retail industry as well. Mr. Agarwal, let's begin with you. Again, the industry collectively had sought about a 6 to 7% of a GDP as a relief package size. That's what has been delivered if you exclude the steps that have already been announced by RBI and the government. This should suffice in giving some fillip as we restart our economic activity?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the best heartening news that we have listened after maybe 60 days, and it is so good, nice to hear those 5 pillars, and where demand creation, economy, and demographic and systematic changes is large enough, and I think this is going to be a real change, and the confidence that our Prime Minister gives to the whole industry and the people in the country really makes us, the goosebumps are up, and people are up, want to go out and run and create wealth for themselves, create value for themselves, and create value for the entire India. I think, and India is a large country which can really is very much able to generate the self-reliance mechanism, and is rightly so. Most of the Indian industry is self-reliant, and most of the retailers in India are also self-reliant. So I assure the government that the Retail Association of India and all the retailers are going to contribute its maximum, and domestic retailers especially are going to contribute its maximum to try and see how do we get the local manufacture, how do we ensure that local manufacturing is what we sell more, and how do we ensure that all parts of our ecosystem really get to that self-reliant thought process and activities. We are very much excited and very happy to listen.
You say you're all ready to get up and get going? Yes, you say you're all ready to get up and get going and get started and run. But a lot of that also still depends on what lockdown 4.0 is going to look like, Mr. Agarwal. Fact of the matter is that even if the shops are allowed to open at a larger scale, you still need to ensure you get your merchandise in, which means, a proper functional entire supply chain, right from manufacturing to labor force to transport. All of this needs to also get going now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's very crucial, and maintaining the supply chain. where the entire retail industry involves a large amount of the multiplier effect of lot of MSMEs and lot of laborers who work for those MSMEs and for us. So I think it's a huge labor intensive business, and we are definitely looking forward, because today's speech will obviously also send back those migrant laborers, and those migrant laborers are going to come back to their towns and their cities and their factories, because they are also excited with all this package which is coming in, and they will not want to miss up those opportunities. So I think the whole system is going to get excited, and it's going to really boost them to work more and work to the effectivity. And Indians are really careful on those, because they don't have too much to spend, and they would want every penny and every bit of that, and they would not lose this opportunity of the Prime Minister's vision.
Okay, let me also bring in Mr. Hari Menon and ask him for his reaction, Mr. Menon, on what you've just heard from the Prime Minister in terms of the way forward. To what extent will it help your business and your industry, and what are the challenges that you still foresee?
Yeah, I think the announcement is absolutely brilliant. I think it's a huge sum, and I'm just hoping to hear details about that from the finance minister in the next few days. But I think it's going to be a great boost to the economy. Coming back to us, I think the single biggest thing that frankly we as a business are looking forward to is the migrant labor essentially starting to come back. Let me tell you what happened to us actually. We lost our migrant labor where they had gone and crossed boundaries very early actually. It happened on the 23rd and 24th of March. So that's the time when all of them left, and it's not recent. And the people who are there with us and stayed back are extremely happy, because they're working in a very safe environment. They're earning money. They're all insured. And so they're very, very comfortable. The key thing for us is to see how the workers and our staff, which actually left us as early in March, start coming back, because a lot of them are actually our experienced workforce, and them coming back just helps us boost productivity. And so what we've done over the last few weeks is that we have hired locally, and they're all new people who've come in. We've had to train them and stuff, but a whole bunch of them are sitting there, who are experienced and will just help us boost our productivity, where we can take the business to the next level, essentially. So we've scaled quite a bit, and the key thing that I'm looking forward to is the opening up of these people coming back. And these people are keen to come back because they went in March, and so they've had their share of staying at home, their share of being with family, etc. And they're all itching and very, very keen to come back and join us. So I'm just hoping that things open up so that they come and join us, and it'll just help us boost productivity.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us and giving your insights and your reaction to what has just been announced. Thank you both of you for speaking to us. Viewers, we've gotten you big political reaction. We got senior journalists to help you understand what Prime Minister said and what it meant. We've got now big reactions from the infrastructure, real estate and retail segment coming in. Let's also get you big reactions now from the health perspective. From where we've reached in our war against corona, the fact that we need to now, restart our economy, look at a slightly different version of a lockdown and take it from there. Dr. Preeti Kumar, Vice President for Public Health System Support, joins us, and Dr. Subramanian Swaminathan, Senior Consultant for Infectious Diseases at Green Eagles Global from Chennai, is with us. Dr. Preeti Kumar, let's begin with you. A part of the focus as we revive economy and focus on livelihoods will still continue to be on the health battle. How do you see that, moving forward as we begin to lift some of our restrictions?
I think this has been a massive sort of announcement today, and it has enormous ramifications for the health sector, both from the way moving forward we expect the epidemic to be managed, as well as for the larger health sector and the impact on it. We're really hopeful that nothing has actually showed how much public health systems investments are essential to cope up with the scale of a tragedy and the epidemic that has struck every country globally. And so moving forward, we do think that there is a huge and enormous potential and a need to invest in public health infrastructure moving forward, even while we are battling with the epidemic. The other area that we really feel will be important from a health point of view is the investments in human resources in health. The whole epidemic, the entire testing, contact tracing, management has literally been done by the vast army of foot soldiers who have actually enabled the whole tracking and tracing and isolating and quarantining and ensuring that we keep the curve flattened. Therefore, I think there is definitely a potential for us to now invest more in human resources in health. The third is buying from what and taking forward from what the Prime Minister himself mentioned about self-reliance. I think there is a huge area for us to also focus now far more on self-reliance in manufacturing, focusing on drugs and diagnostics. Of course, we are very large manufacturers of generic medicines, but there's a huge potential moving forward to ramp up our capacities for manufacturing, for research, to come up with better diagnostics and move towards self-reliance. So in short, I would say that there's a huge focus and scope for also investment in health, and nothing has shown it far more than the COVID outbreak.
Okay, yeah, let's take that point forward, Dr. Swaminathan. The other aspect that I wanted to speak on is the fact that right now, almost half of our cases come from a handful of India's big cities. These cities are also, the nerve centers for our economy, for our business activity, and the livelihood of lakhs of people depend on, these cities itself. Are we now health infrastructure wise ready to say, okay, let's lift the lockdown, even if the cases go up a little, we still have, the infrastructure prepared to deal with that?
I think the bigger issue is that we don't have a choice. We can't stay in lockdown forever. We have to exit the lockdown at some point or the other, number one. Second, the large cities being the centers of such explosive transmission is a worldwide phenomenon, whether it's New York or Chicago or Los Angeles and places like that, London as well. The large cities are the ones which are going to bear the brunt of the caseload upfront, given that physical closeness is going to be a lot more. And therefore, I think it is inevitable, but that doesn't mean we have to stop. I think we need to push on not just with COVID, but also with a lot of other health concerns which are going to become major issues very shortly, which includes tuberculosis in the years to come, which also includes the fact that we are slipping in pediatric vaccination. And I'm really petrified we could have a serious outbreak of things like measles or even polio for that matter, if we don't start ramping up measures on that. So the longer we stay in the lockdown, actually speaking, you could have more health problems coming up. So therefore, a cautious release like what has been suggested is a good idea.
Okay, just to add to that, Dr. Preeti Kumar, again, because yes, it is inevitable, we can't forever stay in a state of lockdown, but have we utilized this time properly to build on our health infrastructure to say when the cases go up, as people begin to come out, we can handle that?
Definitely, the period of lockdown has been used precisely for why one of the main reasons for having the lockdown was that in addition to ensure that we could be able to flatten the curve was to ramp up our capacities in our both public sector as well as in the private sector, so that we would have adequate number of beds for isolation, for quarantine. We could have a big force out in the field to manage outbreaks, to identify to improve our surveillance, to ensure that we could trace all the people. See, the best reaction and the best states that have handled it is only in the intensity with which they have been able to ramp up their existing health systems to ensure a better contact tracing, better testing, better isolation, and better management of people in the hospitals. So definitely there has been a ramp up. Our main aim of the lockdown was to ensure that we did not have the case fatality that would have been disastrous for our country. So we have been able to control that. However, as the earlier speaker has mentioned, honestly, even the best of countries have not been able to handle if you get the sort of cases that they got. So we have a continuous need to ramp up our health infrastructure and also take those preventive measures which should prevent people from getting into the hospitals in the first stage.
Yes. Prime Minister today mentioned that there was a time when we didn't manufacture any PPEs in our country, barely any N95 masks. We've now reached a point, like he said, that we're manufacturing 2 lakh of these on a daily basis. Dr. Swaminathan, this can be used as an opportunity even to ramp up on such critical parts of the healthcare infrastructure, whether it's PPEs or masks, and even the equipment. For example, the oxygen mask and the bags and the ventilators.
I think, there is always opportunity in any even adverse situation for us to go forward even stronger than what we started off. And I think this is an example of that. The fact that the world itself is looking at us very favorably in terms of being able to bring down cost of production and also looking at our ability to innovate and make things at a very low cost is something that we should leverage very aggressively. We do have the infrastructure, we do have the know-how. It's just that most of the smart people who are working in all these international companies many of them are of Indian origin. The reason why they moved on to greener pastures is possibly because the investment in R&D has been pretty frugal in our country for a lot of reasons. I think if we can change that dynamic and improve it and make it a hospitable situation where R&D can be respected and intellectual property can be respected, I think we can really be the leader in terms of innovation in at least the health sector. We are already the leader in healthcare tourism. So how much more difficult can that be? I think we can definitely do it.
Okay, I understand what both of you are saying. Thank you so much for joining us. The battle is long, the challenges are many, but what the Prime Minister today has said has given a big hope to lakhs of people in this country. Of course, the details are awaited, and that's what the Finance Minister will give us tomorrow, and then the big challenge of implementation begins. So thank you so much for joining us for this round of conversation. Viewers, we are not done yet. We've got lots more reactions lined up on the other side. UP Minister Mohsin Raza also joins me for a special conversation. Uttar Pradesh is one of those states that has already tweaked its laws, its labor laws, to bring in more investment to boost manufacturing and industries. Coupled with that and today's announcements, we have much to ask Mr. Mohsin Raza. So stay with me, back in just 2 minutes.
साथियों, कोरोना संकट का सामना करते हुए नए संकल्प के साथ मैं आज एक विशेष आर्थिक पैकेज की घोषणा कर रहा हूं। ये आर्थिक पैकेज आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान की अहम कड़ी के तौर पर काम करेगा। साथियों, हाल में सरकार ने कोरोना संकट से जुड़ी जो आर्थिक घोषणाएं की थी, जो रिजर्व बैंक के फैसले थे और आज जिस आर्थिक पैकेज का ऐलान हो रहा है, उसे जोड़ दें तो ये करीब 20 लाख करोड़ रुपए का है। 20 लाख करोड़ रुपए का है। ये पैकेज भारत की जीडीपी का करीब 10% है। इन सबके जरिए देश के विभिन्न वर्गों को आर्थिक व्यवस्था की कड़ियों को 20 लाख करोड़ रुपए का संबल मिलेगा, सपोर्ट मिलेगा। 20 लाख करोड़ रुपए का ये पैकेज 2020 में देश की विकास यात्रा को 20 लाख 2020 में आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान को एक नई गति देगा। आत्मनिर्भर भारत के संकल्प को सिद्ध करने के लिए इस पैकेज में लैंड, लेबर, लिक्विडिटी और लॉज सभी पर बल दिया गया है। ये आर्थिक पैकेज हमारे कुटीर उद्योग, गृह उद्योग, हमारे लघु मंझोले उद्योग, हमारे एमएसएमई के लिए हैं, जो करोड़ों लोगों की आजीविका का साधन है, जो आत्मनिर्भर भारत के हमारे संकल्प का मजबूत आधार है। ये आर्थिक पैकेज देश के उस श्रमिक के लिए हैं, देश के उस किसान के लिए हैं, जो हर स्थिति, हर मौसम में देशवासियों के लिए दिन रात परिश्रम कर रहा है। ये आर्थिक पैकेज हमारे देश के मध्यम वर्ग के लिए है, जो ईमानदारी से टैक्स देता है, देश के विकास में अपना योगदान देता है। ये आर्थिक पैकेज भारतीय उद्योग जगत के लिए हैं, जो भारत के आर्थिक सामर्थ्य को बुलंदी देने के लिए संकल्पित है।
Well, that was just an excerpt of what the Prime Minister said today. One of the key, parts of his speeches that we wanted to highlight to you one more time. Let's also take you through the reactions that are coming in right now, and a series of reactions have come. And I'll just read out some of them to you. Let's begin with what Pawan K. Verma has said. The economic package, which the PM has at last announced, is welcome, as is the promise of structural reforms. But I thought he would speak more about the huge suffering of migrant labor and what can be done to assist migrant labor. Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister, who will be in the spotlight tomorrow as she gives us the details of this economic package, tweeted to say a special economic package is being announced for an Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan with nearly 10% of the GDP, approximately 20 lakh crore getting committed. MSMEs and the honest middle class help build a self-reliant India, says PMO India. So remember this, viewers. Now the Prime Minister and Finance Minister both have emphasized on MSMEs and the honest middle class. We've also got Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, who's tweeted saying extraordinary, inspiring and motivating address by PM. 20 lakh crore package shows empathy for all segments of the society in these challenging times. I am sure this will become a beacon for Atmanirbhar Bharat. Let's also bring you a reaction coming in from Nitin Gadkari.
संकट में प्रधानमंत्री ने जो ऐतिहासिक पैकेज जाहिर किया है, मैं देश की जनता की ओर से उनको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं, उनका अभिनंदन करता हूं। विशेष रूप से एमएसएमई, कुटीर उद्योग और लघु उद्योग के बारे में जिस बातों की हमारी अपेक्षा थी वो उन्होंने पूरी करके दी है। और एक आत्मनिर्भर हिंदुस्तान हो, और हमारे हिंदुस्तान में टेक्नोलॉजी है, रिसोर्सेस है, इसके साथ साथ हमारे देश में रॉ मटेरियल अवेलेबल है, और हम ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी में एक सुपर इकोनॉमिक पावर बना सकते हैं। ये प्रधानमंत्री जी का सपना है, और इसलिए इस संकट को ब्लेसिंग इन डिस्गाइज मानकर हम आत्मविश्वास के साथ पॉजिटिव खड़े रहे और देश को आगे लेकर जाए, ये संदेश कृति से प्रधानमंत्री जी ने दिया है। मैं विशेष रूप से लघु उद्योग, कुटीर उद्योग और जो ग्रामोद्योग है, उनके लिए प्रधानमंत्री जी ने ये जो सपोर्ट दिया है, ये इंडस्ट्री कभी भूल नहीं सकती। इसमें काम करने वाले 11 करोड़ से ज़्यादा मजदूर हैं, लोग हैं, उनको भी राहत मिली है। ये उद्योग टिकेंगे भी और आगे अच्छा काम करेंगे, और देश की इकोनॉमी में 29% कंट्रीब्यूशन लघु उद्योगों का है, एमएसएमई का है, ये और बढ़ेगा। और मेरा विश्वास है कि निश्चित रूप से हमारा देश शक्तिशाली होगा, सुपर इकोनॉमिक पावर बनेगा, और इस संकट से उभर कर हम बाहर आएंगे और एक बहुत अच्छा ऐतिहासिक प्रगति और विकास की ओर जाएंगे, ये मेरा विश्वास है।
Well, a 10% of our GDP. That's the size of the relief package that has been announced. Now, if you compare it to what's happening in the rest of the world, that will be interesting to see, because many of the Western nations have actually announced its significant size. This is what our industry was seeking for. This is what the government has delivered. All now depends on the fine print that gets announced tomorrow by the finance minister. I just want to tell you that the Reserve Bank of India, viewers, has already announced some relief measures that amount to about 2.8 lakh crore, which is 1.4% of the GDP. A second round of measures were announced by the Reserve Bank of India on 27th of March, roughly to the tune of 3.7 lakh crore, which is 1.8% of the GDP. And if you remember, the government itself announced one small relief package of about 1.7 lakh crore, which was the Garib Kalyan Yojana that was announced in the first part of April. And that together is already 4% of your GDP. Now, if this has to be factored in, then what comes out tomorrow will be accounting 6% of the GDP, and that not the full 20 lakh crore, because some of it has already been done. But that clarity will come from the finance minister. Suffice to say, the big message coming in from the Prime Minister today is that we need to chart out a path now to become a more self-reliant economy, a strong economy. He is also hinted at bringing in some more bold reforms. We need to watch out for those. I don't know if you're going to see a large scale of labor reforms coming, labor law reforms coming in, like we've seen in some of the states already. He's also indicated that infrastructure, economy, technology, our own demography are the pillars of India's economy, and these will remain our focal points. A 20 lakh crore stimulus package, details to come out tomorrow. Short, that's as far as this conversation is concerned. But before I wrap up, I need to address one more interesting point. And this has nothing to do with what the Prime Minister said today, but it has all to also do with what we have been seeing in the last few weeks and few months, day in, day out. It's our healthcare workers, viewers, who've been on the job, saving lives, taking care of the ill, taking care of the sick, treating our patients without thinking about their own families, staying away from their families, and spending all their time and energy in helping India fight this battle against coronavirus. And I'm talking about our healthcare professionals. A part of them are the nurses. Now, today is actually International Nurses Day. Today is May 12th. It's celebrated as International Nurses Day. I'm not too sure how many of our nurses actually found time to have any kind of celebration. I'm not even sure when was the last time they got a decent amount of rest, as they continue to be the busiest of the people right now in our country. But we thought we should use this time to have some amount of conversation with some of the nurses and their representatives, and also express our gratitude. Say a big thank you to all of you for doing what you have, not just during this time of pandemic, but in general for the service that you provide to our country. So let's say good evening to Kanishk Yadav, nursing officer at AIIMS, Pramila Fogart, nursing officer IRCH in the oncology department in AIIMS, and Usha Banerjee, group director of nursing at Apollo Hospital. So Usha Banerjee, let's begin with you. Thank you so much, for the service that you provide to the people of this country. Just a time we thought that we should, have a conversation with you, get a sense of how tough it's been in the last several weeks as we fight coronavirus.
I think nursing is a very, very tough job, but the COVID pandemic has increased the responsibilities of the nurses as they are frontline warriors and have to take care of patients in very complex and challenging environments, most of them away from home and their own families, and yet putting their best in order to take care of the patients and also putting their lives at risk. And I think it's a great time for the nurses to be recognized and acknowledged as true warriors at the front line.
Yes, and we've had some conversations earlier as well. It's not been an easy task, Usha. There's been a lot of stigma attached to it. There has been some amount of resistance, even from the locals, residents, and society members. And of course, in many places, the healthcare staff members have had to stay away from their own family members. How do you all cope with so many challenges while focusing on your job?
I think nursing is a profession that has taught us great dedication to our duties, resilience at dealing with very complex situations. It forms the ethos and bedrock of our very own profession. So I think nurses are coming into the profession with great grit, courage, and mental strength. And this is put to test at this COVID time. And I'm glad nurses are making a big difference to the healthcare system and acknowledged none other than by the Prime Minister of this country.
In fact, let me also ask Kanish Yadav how it's been the last several weeks, despite the fact, Kanish, that we say it and the Prime Minister says it, and a lot of people have come out and openly thanked and expressed gratitude. There have been some unfortunate instances where the healthcare professionals have had to bear the brunt of the great job that they are actually doing.
Initially, last month, जो 1 month back, जब कोविड जब पीक पे था, कोविड के केसेस पीक पे थे, तो एक बार डर लग रहा था कैसे होगा. बहुत सारे इंसिडेंट्स हो रहे थे, बैक टू बैक अटैक हो रहे थे. बट मीडिया और जो गवर्नमेंट का जो रोल रहा हेल्थ केयर वर्कर्स को पॉजिटिव करने में, वो वास्तव में बड़ा ही अप्रिशिएबल है कि मीडिया साथ में गवर्नमेंट ने जो हमारी एक आवाज़ बन के निकल के आए. तो हमारे लिए आज देखें कि एक लास्ट 30 डेज के अंदर वाइब है वो कम्प्लीटली पॉजिटिव हुई है. रेयरली 1 और 2 केसेस रिपोर्ट हो रहे हैं, अदरवाइज एवरीथिंग इज ओके और वी आर फीलिंग सेफ नाउ. अभी तो सब ठीक है और उम्मीद करते हैं कि हम उन्हीं लोगों के लिए काम कर रहे हैं. जैसे उषा मैडम ने अभी बोला है कि हमारी ट्रेनिंग ही ऐसे हुई है. जो मेरे को आज भी याद है, जब मेरा डे 1 था हॉस्पिटल के अंदर, मेरे जब सीनियर ने बोला कि आपके सामने अगर कोई डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट आ जाता है तो हाउ विल यू विल रिएक्ट. तो मैंने स्टूडेंट की तरह बोला मैं उसी तरह लूँगा जैसे बाकी मरीजों को लेगा. तो उसने मुझे शाबाशी दी कि बिल्कुल नर्सिंग ऐसा ही प्रोफेशन है, आपको सबको एक साथ लेके चलना है, बराबर लेके चलना है. और शायद इसी की गुडविल का आउटकम है कि अब लोग कोऑपरेट कर रहे हैं. धीरे धीरे उन्हें समझ आ गया है कि बेसिकली नर्सेज किसके लिए हैं, क्या कर रही हैं.
जी नहीं, ये आपने बिल्कुल सही बोला. और एक्चुअली देखें तो डॉक्टर्स एंड नर्सेज का ये सबसे बड़ा अभी फ़िलहाल चैलेंज है, और वो जिस तरीके से निभा रहे हैं सबको ट्रीट करने में, इसके लिए वी आर वेरी ग्रेटफुल टू ऑल ऑफ यू. Pramila Phogat, what goes on in your mind when you know that you are working in an extremely highly dangerous zone with the risk of an infection? How do you all tell yourselves that let's not worry about that right now, let's focus, पहले फोकस करते हैं कि पेशेंट्स को कैसे ट्रीट करें?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Actually, by God's grace, we got very much lucky. We are very much lucky that we got a golden chance to serve the society in this crucial time. We are away from our family. Actually, most of us, we are having young kids and family. But for the society purpose, God gave us this golden chance. So we are working head to toe to make this tough time easier for every people. And there is a saying that if you save one life, then you are a hero. But if you save 100 of lives, then you are a nurse. So thank God that we are serving in this crucial time. We are trying our best, and the army people, police people, that Safai Karamchari, we are all together to make this time easier, and we'll definitely won this time.
बिल्कुल. प्रमिला, आप अपना हॉस्पिटल में रहते हैं या अलग से अकोमोडेशन प्रोवाइड की गई है, या आप घर जा पाते हैं, फैमिली मेंबर्स से मिल पाते हैं?
Actually, ma'am, I am living in joint family. In our whole family, we are whole. My husband in Delhi Police, my Didi in bank, and my Jiju in ITBP Defense Services. So we all are essential service workers. So because of this joint family, our mother-in-law, father-in-law are supporting us fully, 100%. They are supporting us. So we are able to stay away from our kids to keep them safe. So we are stay from our home. any accommodations we are providing by our hospital and our groups. So we are managing in that only.
वाओ, आपकी तो पूरी सुपर फैमिली है. दैट इज सो कूल. प्रमिला जी, आई एम श्योर उसकी वजह से थोड़ा बहुत स्ट्रेस तो होगा कि सब लोग बाहर जा रहे हैं इस समय में और ये काम कर रहे हैं, बट द फैक्ट दैट यू नो you're all making such a big contribution towards this war against corona, thank you so much. And actually thank you even to your family, the senior citizens, the in-laws who are taking care of the children at such a time. This is how, I mean, these are great examples and great stories of how we're all, you know, fighting this coronavirus. Thank you for that. Usha Banerjee, what about you know, you and your team? How are they dealing and managing the work and the family balance right now?
I have a very large team because I work for the Apollo Hospital Group, and I have 72 hospitals under my command. And right now I'm seated at Delhi, which has a very large workforce, 1,500 nurses with more than 200 deployed, you know, in various duties. I think everyone is ready and prepared to face the situation. They have made provisions for their families to be taken care back home. Many of them have small children. They have aged parents, in-laws. But I think duty comes first. That's what the profession has taught us. And everybody is going through the issues of lockdown. They have challenges of social distancing back home or at work for that matter. I think it's all a mental makeup and a mindset to be on duty, ready to face the situation and make this country a better place for every citizen and contribute towards humanity, which comes foremost in our minds. So we all have made provisions. There are friends, people, family members. Everyone is in support today. And we are glad.
Okay. Kanishk, what about you? आप फैमिली से मिल पाते हैं, घर जा पाते हैं अभी, या अलग से रहना पड़ रहा है?
मैं लगभग 28 days I stayed away from my family, so I was in Vishram Sadan provided by AIIMS authority. So 2 days back when I got COVID-19 test negative, and luckily it was negative, so I just came, but I still living in a separate room, so it is like a home quarantine situation for me. अच्छा लग रहा है. So 1-2 दिन के बाद में I'll get back to my work, or I have to stay in Vishram Sadan.
So you are in quarantine, but have you been able to meet your family, spend some time with them? 28 days is also a long time, and I'm sure it was
Yes,
a stressful time as well, Kanishk.
Basically, by God's grace, I'm leading all the nurses, especially North Indian and Mid India's nurses. So I'm leading the examples while leading them. So I'm totally positive. I'm not worried about my family, to be very honest. They are very cooperate. My wife is very cooperating lady. She understands well what I actually am doing. So as you know, so when I asked actually at AIIMS administration to appoint me in COVID-19 ICU as a voluntarily I asked. So immediately I was assigned there. So I'm thankful to the AIIMS administration also. So my mindset is very clear, and so my family's mindset is also very clear that once I have decided to do any task, so I go behind that without any second thought. So I give my best. Today we organize a blood donation camp also in AIIMS. So yes, so we 35 frontline warriors donated blood for cardiac children with cardiac issues, and for COVID-19 positive patient as well, because they need fresh blood and platelets. So we 35 donated for them on International Nurses Day. So it is a very proud moment for us.
Yes, in fact, all of us are extremely proud of you and for what you're all doing. Pramila, ये जो कनिष्क कह रहा है ये सही बात है. Isn't it true that, you know, even if you're given the opportunity to go home, to stay away, take a break, you will miss out. You will want to be there on the job, taking care of people right now and doing as much as you can. Almost everybody, doctor, nurse that I've met, have told me the same thing.
Yeah, ma'am. You are, Kanish sir is absolutely right. Actually, if we are at home during quarantine period or isolation period, we're still missing that what is going to be happen in our workplace. Maybe they are needing us with, because most of the mostly female nursing staff are, there's a very much difficulty for them to stay away from their kids, especially. Every mature person can handle this and understand well also. But for kids, it's quite difficult, ma'am, to understand the tough time and the need of the hour, actually. But by God's grace, for me, my in-laws, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, they are just like my mother and father, my Didi and Jiru. Everybody is supporting. That's why I'm able to work for the COVID patients. But for everybody who is staying from away from their family, they are staying here in nuclear family. For them, it's quite difficult. So there is no option for them to go back to their home only. So they are at quite high risk. And everybody's security guards, everybody playing a vital role in this tough time.
Yes, thank you so much to Kanishk Yadav, thank you Pramila Fogart, and thank you Usha Banerjee for what all of you are doing, your colleagues are doing for us, and how you're facing these hardships just to ensure that you all save more lives and help us win this war against corona. Thank you for choosing the profession that you have and for being these awesome nurses that we have in our country. Viewers, we just thought that this would be a good time to speak to some of these nurses, thousands of them out there today working non-stop as we fight this war, and it's going to be a long drawn battle. It's not even if the cases come down in the next 1 month, life will get easier for them because the infection is not going to go away, and then there are other patients and other diseases. It's a tough task. So let's take a step back and take a deep breath and also say thank you to all of the healthcare professionals. And I'm already completely out of time on this edition of the Urban Debate, so have a good night.